Right, the last thing on this segment is just a quick chat about TDK. We talked about their album Uspeh in the last episode. They have since released a documentary of the recording of the album. It's basically a studio diary. With a
Of
sort of
sorts, isn't it? Like it kind of feels like, although obviously documents them recording Uspeh, like it does kind of feel like a kind of form of weird art in and of itself.
yeah, it does. There's like a weird like philosophical narrative
Aye,
that there is a narrator talking about this village of Dobrina, which the place they're at, they record it in this place, Dobrina. It's like a half abandoned village that does exist. I don't know if it
yeah.
actually is called Dobrina or not, because a lot of what's in the documentary is a bit like, is it real or is it not, kind of thing.
Because they talk about it being well, we kind of talked about it when we were actually covering the album, but they talk about it being the separatist state of Dobrina, and it's not dictated by boundaries; it's dictated by ideals and thoughts and concepts, and yeah, um,
And they talk about how the like sunshine shines differently
shines
and
differently here.
and all that sort of stuff. So it's very
It's
weird.
I mean, I think it gives you quite an interesting insight into how they recorded the album. I mean, I never realised that it was they'd managed to source a Canadian producer called Jesse. I can't remember his surname. And I think the album was kind of crowdfunded. They kind of set up a crowdfund campaign called Save TDK from Disappointment. And I think
Yeah,
they managed to secure the funds for the recording of the album within about, was it 10 days or so? I mean, it was maybe a bit more than that, but like I remember thinking, oh, that's actually pretty decent.
yeah, and like it's pretty impressive just watching them go to these locations and record. Like there's a bit where they go into this old, like, so like a medieval church or something. They go, it's
It's an old
basically like,
temple, yeah,
yeah, that's what it is. And they go in there and they record like the chanting vocals from
yeah.
Ni Govorum Rat City. I think it's how you pronounce it. And like they go in there at like midnight and record that, and it's really cool.
Yeah, that was smart.
Yeah, so it's just interesting to see how all these elements in that album sort of come together, and then they do that, and then they give it away to the producer, and he heads off back
He
to
does it.
Canada, and they have to wait like weeks for it to come back to actually see what the results are. They're kind of in this weird limbo for a little while.
Uh-huh.
So yeah,
There was
so
loads of
yeah,
cats. Like I loved how there was just like cats everywhere, and like they would like subtitle the cats meowing. And then I remember there's a bit where there's a dog, and it's like the dog's barking, and the subtitles is subtitle is barks in Bulgarian,
yeah,
and I almost want that to be like a mistake. Like I think it's intentional. I think it's something that's purposely been put in there
yeah.
by by the band. But like I watched it on YouTube, and I just quite like the idea of it being like a fault within YouTube.
Yeah, like an auto transcription,
Oh
like
yeah, auto
translation.
generated subtitles, barks in Bulgarian.
Yeah, there is a bit in the credits that does say like the translation and transcript was done, like somebody did the translation and the transcript, so it is definitely
Oh really?
deliberate. But I just like there is a quite a bit of humor like deliberately placed in this documentary. So it's yeah, it's not a bad way to spend 48 minutes or
Yeah,
whatever it is. It's quite
it's
interesting.
quite long, but it's funny because like although they're saying this kind of like like funny things, it's delivered in quite a deadpan way as well. Because I think there's kind of talk of like one of the band members like touching another
Yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff.
There's some weird like homoeroticism
Aye,
discussions and like jealousy between members. That yeah. It's just it's that kind of, if you've watched any of these type of documentaries before, Studio Diaries and stuff, it's that sort of like banter you get between band members. It's almost like stream of conscience stream of consciousness kind of nonsense, like back and forth.
Absolutely.
So it's yeah, it's quite funny to watch. Quite bizarre, but yeah, definitely worth a watch if you like that album Uspeh and you want to see a bit more of the kind of behind the scenes of how it was recorded and some of the personalities behind the music, then definitely worth checking out.
It's not finished. It's finished.